Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming out to the call-out meeting tonight. I hope that my story will be helpful to you as you make your decision whether or not to try out. I would like to share my high school pole vaulting story to all of you so that you can get a better understanding of what the sport is really all about. The year's 2001, and I remember running around the track and seeing the pole vault guys laying on the mat sunbathing as I was trying desperately to keep pace with the other guys. Around the second time we circled the track, I looked back over and saw one of the vaulters running down the runway. He planted the pole and shot up at least 12 feet into the air, and then landed safely on the mat, or pit as we call it. Immediately I went over to the coach to tell them I wanted to do that. I'm sure many of you here can relate with this when you first saw someone vault and how that kind of made you feel. Well, that vault we all saw takes time, guys. Most of the first year was spent stick vaulting for me. And as you guys may have guessed it looks exactly as it sounds. The pole doesn't bend, and you just try to muscle yourself over the bar. That year's challenges for me, and your first year as well probably, is just to get comfortable holding the pole, confident enough to plant it in the box, and get over starting height. Much to my, and probably your disappointment, neither of those two things will happen. I never ended up clearing my first height, or any height, freshman year. When you come back the next following year, if you redouble your efforts like I did, you'll definitely be able to get over starting height. For me, however, the beginning of the season started off just the same as last year. I quickly got discouraged, and I knew something had to change, just not sure what. I started working out and exercising twice as hard in order to be in the best shape as possible for when the form came into play. Pull-ups, push-ups, core workouts became an everyday rigorous activity. And guys, there's no shortcuts here. If you truly want to push yourself to the next height, you have to put in the time for strength training. By the end of the season, I not only reached my goal of opening height, but I also got a whole extra foot. If you have the same dedication and you put in the time, work, and effort, this will be the same for you. Of course, I forgot to mention the part where I broke the pole during my first vault at conference later that year and suffered a pretty bad concussion. It's true, guys. There's always a risk when you go down that runway. Had the pole been properly checked by myself or an official, then this could have been avoided. The lesson here is take care of your poles by storing them in a secure spot where they can lay naturally, and always do a checkup the day of meets. I was out the rest of the season, still working on trying to get cleared for the future. When I finally did get cleared, the coach approached me at the end of the season and realized that I'm pretty much the best vaulter we have going forward, so he wanted me to go to summer training camp. My parents loaded up the pole vault pole into the car and we headed for 3 days at the camp. While there, we drilled all day and even practiced some underwater vaulting. I finished the camp by setting a new personal record of 11 feet. There are a lot of private clinics out there for you guys so that you can vault year-round and improve in the off-season. If I had done this and if I would have known about this, I could have easily have gone to the final heights or further than where I was at by the end of senior year. So excited from camp and with new drills to help, I started training and conditioning early in the summer. Occasionally I would meet up in the coach in our off season, like I was telling you guys about, to continue some underwater vaulting. But there were times I did miss my alarm and the morning practice. My junior year starts off to a strong start with me taking first place in just about all the meets. Since there was no actual coach for pole vaulting, the head coach kind of put me in charge of all the newbies to help them along. And this is going to be very common. Your coaches will probably not have the slightest clue as to what and how a vaulter should do to improve. There was some benefit to being your own coach, though. As you climb higher, having a trustworthy mentor, though, could really help. That year, the new height I wanted to reach was 12 feet. I had gotten very close in practice, but I needed to make it happen in an actual meet. There was a new problem that came up this year. As I started getting to new heights and larger poles, I noticed there were times I wasn't making it into the pit. Instead, I would go off into the sides, or I wouldn't even land on the mat. Part of the problem was not having enough speed, while the other part was mental. I started to get nervous of pole breaks or falling off the mat again. During these times, it's important, guys, to get back to the basics and go through the fundamentals of a vault. You will have to do this if you find yourself getting nervous, or if you get injured, or you're still having some issues with the vault. I did eventually reach 12 feet, but I still did not qualify for state because of scratches at regionals. My goal for senior year and years 2 will be to make it to state. I started off the season strong as usual, but I couldn't break past the 13'6" mark. Still very impressive from where I was 4 years earlier, but I wanted to keep going further, and if I was going to do it, I had to get to 14 feet. It was around midway through the season I did start having shoulder problems. I took a weightlifting class my senior year, which definitely left me pretty sore at the end of the week for anything track related by the end of the day. The lesson here is when you're vaulting, it is really important to not mix heavy workout days and vaulting, guys. If you do, you will find your body never has a chance to repair and rest, which will lead to more serious injuries and a worse performance. I did make my way through conference and sectionals very easily, but the real competition would always be at regionals. While there I competed against top individuals from Northwest Indiana. I started off fine, but as I continued to vault, I noticed my energy was starting to fade. I needed to clear 13'6", a height that I previously had been able to do in order to qualify for state. In my last attempt, I cleared the bar with every part of my body except my hand. As I went down to the pit, while the time it takes to fall 13'6" is seconds, it did feel like an eternity. I realize now the irony in both me falling short of state and me actually falling down to the pit. I knew in my head that my track season was over. This story ends happily though, because what I didn't know is that I would help others to get over their own bars, whether it was pole vaulting or in learning. Finally, I learned that if I put my mind to it, then I can get over any other bars in life if I am determined. I hope that you all find this sport as rewarding as I did, and I hope that it pays off in the same way. Thanks.